Brian, we have on the agenda a special item tag to 4 minutes from now.
Yeah.
But the commissioners have been on the line now for
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Are we able to take a short break for commissioners, even if it
Sure.
pushes us 5 minutes past?
I think so. We have our ASL translators online. They're expecting to start in 3 minutes, but I think that this item is not going to take very long. So if we
Well,
start,
then why don't we do it then? And if you think it's a short one, and then we'll take our break.
okay.
Does that make more sense to you?
Hi, my name's Elise. I'm one of the interpreters. We're fine with that. I did want to put in a reminder. I looked over the memo. It's very vocabulary dense. So if whoever reads it can try to read it a little slowly. We tend to speed up when we read out loud. So I just wanted to put that in there.
And we don't typically read the memos at the meetings. We present them in advance and then discuss them.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
So this is Steve's item.
All right, this is memorandum 2333. I will try to speak more slowly as well. Tell me if I'm speaking too slowly. This memorandum presents the next set of statutory provisions for inclusion in a proposed recodification that the Commission has been working on of Chapter 6.5 of Division 20 of the Health and Safety Code. We almost had ready for presentation today a substantial additional set of proposed provisions, but they were not quite ready, so we expect those provisions will be presented to the Commission in the next meeting interval. The staff also expects to present in the next meeting interval the first of what will be a series of cumulative drafts containing all provisions the Commission has to date provisionally approved for inclusion in the recodification. Because the legislature has directed that this proposed recodification not make any substantive changes to existing law, the recodification is largely a proposed reorganization of the quite substantial chapter of existing law, Chapter 6.5. The proposed provisions in the memo do at times include some non-substantive changes to existing statutory text. But except for extremely minor changes, these proposed changes are generally called out in either a Commission comment or a staff note in the draft, and on occasion in the presenting memo. In addition, in instances in which the staff discovers what appears to be a problem with the wording of a particular existing section, a staff note will identify the issue and seek public comment. Consistent with past practice in this study, I'm not going to go through all the proposed provisions individually, but we'll ask for questions or comments about any provision, and then we'll ask the Commission for provisional approval of the presented provisions for inclusion in a tentative recommendation in this study. So, are there any questions or comments about any of the proposed provisions presented with this memo? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion to provisionally, well, I guess I should wait first for any.
Well, Steve, is there any member of the public who wishes to be heard on this point, on this item?
I am looking at the audience. I see no hands raised. Going once, going twice.
Back to you, Steve.
Thanks. All right, then, may I have a motion to provisionally approve the presented provisions in this memorandum for inclusion in a tentative recommendation in this study?
So moved.
I won. Commissioner
I second.
Simpson has moved.
I was going to say I
Commissioner
actually
Carrion
won,
has
but that's okay.
Jointly proposed by Commissioners Simpson and Carrion. Steve, would you like to call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Carrion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Cubas.
Aye.
Commissioner Hebner.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Commissioner King.
Aye.
Commissioner McAllister.
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson.
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous among the members who are present. May I ask if the pace and the volume and everything else about the presentation was appropriate.
Not seeing a hand in response in the audience, so I think that's acceptance.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the
Thank you, Steve.
translator and to the Department of Rehabilitation for comping us the translation service for our first foray into this this world. Look forward to continuing this service. Oops, I do have a hand raised. I am going to allow this person to, I'm going to promote them to being a panelist so that they can be seen and the translators can are we there? So yes, so we can see Blue Aldrich, and I don't know whether it was your intention to make a statement that the translators would translate for us.
No, I can speak for myself.
Okay.
But I wanted to thank you so much for making the interpreters available and ready. And you guys did a really good job. The interpreters are fantastic. Thank you for including me in this meeting today as an equal. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. Going forward, I think we're going to need to find contract interpreters, but we're going to be working with Department of Rehabilitation to find appropriate interpreters through the private market for that. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
I just also
Thank you
wanted to
very
say
much.
thank you both very much for being here. It's so important that we're inclusive, and this is just an important step in that right direction. So your presence actually is really meaningful. Thank you.
Yeah, what she said.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So
Thank you, everyone. And
with
thank you,
that-
Elise.
go into recess for perhaps 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes, 15.
Well, Brian, if before we adjourn, before we take our break, I'd like to apologize to my fellow commissioners. Like Professor Jones, I'm in London in the middle of a long workday. So when we come back from the break, I understand Commissioner McAllister will
In
take
England?
the gavel and take us through the final half of the meeting, which I regret having to miss. Brian, since it's been 2 full hours, at least 10 minutes for commissioners. Commissioners, is 10 minutes going to be sufficient? Hearing no objections, then we'll be back at 1:45.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
Okay, and will you be needing the interpreters after the break, or is this section over?
this section is over. Thank you all.
This time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you sticking around, David?
My return to my workday starts right on the hour, so I'm just going to observe for a few minutes and then discreetly drop off. So that I
Okay.
catch as much as,
Well, go ahead and start us back in though, since you're here. That'd be great.
no, that's been transferred, Commissioner. It's your party now.
Okay, go.
And you might notice that Commissioner Jenkins is no longer with us. She had let me know she had a request from the speaker's office that she appear for a meeting. So she had to drop off. One thing we could do, are we missing anybody else? I don't think so. We could go into closed session and handle the closed session matter and then come back. It's a little, there's no easy way to do that with the Zoom webinar service. What we would have to do is end this meeting and then start a new meeting, and we would be in the practice session at that point, and so private once again, and then go public again for the remainder of the meeting. Either way, or we could just do that at the end of the agenda items. I just thought since we're going to lose David soon, it might make sense to take that on now.
If you lose me, Brian, do we lose our quorum for purposes of the private session business?
No.
Then it does not make sense to cause that kind of disruption.
Okay.
As long as the quorum's preserved,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah, that's our rule. Okay, so let me just mention in connection with antitrust, which we stepped away from. There was a memo on that item as well, but it was very brief and purely informational. Memorandum 2023-29. If anyone has any questions about that content, ask now, otherwise we'll move on. Okay. So I think that all we have left is administrative matters, because the ERA memo, we decided that rather than split its content between two meetings, it would be better to present it as a whole at the next meeting. So we pulled that off the agenda, which leaves us just with some the general administrative matters like minutes, executive director's reports and such, and then we're going to go into closed session. So we could do the administrative stuff fairly quickly. The minutes are attached to memo 2023-30. Did anyone have any corrections they wanted to make? So if we could get a motion to approve. And a-
Okay,
And a
motion by Commissioner Simpson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, great. Commissioner King seconds.
So I'm going to call the roll on that. I will only call those members who were present for the meeting today. Carrion,
Aye.
Cubas,
Aye.
Ebner,
Aye.
Jenkins is no longer with us. King,
Aye.
McAllister,
Aye, with the proviso that I was not present for that meeting.
you want that in the minutes?
Well, I mean, should I be voting on them if I wasn't there? I mean,
You want to abstain?
let's do that.
Okay. And Simpson.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. That completes that. I will do the executive director's report as quickly as I can. There's nothing super urgent that needs to be discussed. The main point worth talking about is that we are about to, unless there's unless I'm surprised by a trailer bill with immediate effect, we are about to leave our safe harbor that lets us do these meetings entirely on teleconference. So in August, our meeting will have to have a physical anchor. And if commissioners in Southern California want to do the extra work necessary to figure out how to establish sufficient tech for that. We could have a satellite Southern California location to avoid travel. If I'm surprised and a trailer bill is enacted that extends the safe harbor, then I would intend to just do August as another entirely Zoom meeting, and then we could talk then about how to adjust our schedule to reflect the continued grace period on these meetings. So there's going to be a fair amount of, if we have to go into physical location, I think that we're going to want to continue to have invited guests from remote locations. I've been working with someone to try and get a representative from Senator Klobuchar and from the New York state senator who sponsored the antitrust bill, one or both of them, and possibly people representing the counterpoint of view to their proposals. I'd like to have at our meetings in August and October if possible, which means that if we're going to do that, we have to have a hybrid format. Once we throw the door open to a hybrid format, I see no reason not to try and figure out how to accommodate Southern California members who want to meet in satellite location. So that's just to sort of lay out what I see coming. And we'll just have to figure it out. We do have a 2-month interval here between this meeting and the August meeting, so there's some run up. I wanted to make clear about the translation, ASL translation. That was in response to a request, an accommodation request. For this meeting, it was free because the Department of Rehabilitation has staff member translators, and they were gracious enough to offer us their services at no cost. But going forward, we're going to have to find contract translators. And so it's not really my intention to do that any more frequently than we must, especially if we go into a public physical location setting, then that might mean finding translators who could appear in person. And that would likely be more costly because there would be more time involved. I don't know how they would charge, whether there's like travel time to and from the meeting location, but it would be harder to set a time certain and have them show up just for that and then leave. It's possible, but anyway, the transitioning back to in-person is going to be a logistics problem we'll have to work. Yeah, that's all I have for the executive director's report.
Okay, with that, are there any commissioner suggestions for new study topics or anything for the good of the whole? Apparently not. Okay, well,
The last admin memo is the legislative program. That's 2023-31. And I believe there was a first supplement to that as well. The program's going well. The only noteworthy thing that happened is that the Judiciary Committee, which had introduced a committee bill to implement our trial court restructuring reforms, decided they preferred to use that vehicle for something else. And so they deleted our content and amended in their new content with the expectation that our content will be transplanted into a different committee bill, which is their general civil omnibus bill, which includes miscellany. And so we would be added to that collection of miscellany. And so I don't really think it's going to affect enactability. It's just a procedural hiccup. There's nothing that needs to be decided in connection with the legislative program. So if anyone has any questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, we're done with that one too.
moving right along.
Yep.
I think the next thing that we're going to be doing is closed session then.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this meeting down. And then I will give you guys a couple of minutes and I will restart it. And so use your same credentials. You should be able to rejoin the newly restarted meeting. And we will again be in practice green room, so no public, no recording. Yes, Kristen.
Brian, so the staff attorneys will not be joining because we would be in that closed session. If you want us to jump on at the end, just send a message.
Yeah, I don't think there's any need for that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you, everyone. I will also not be joining, of course.
Yeah.
Take care.
that's right.
See you soon.
See you next time. Okay, here we go. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I think we're ready.
Okay, welcome. As a result of the closed session that was held, there has been an offer that will be extended to an applicant for the position of Executive Director of the California Law Revision Commission.
And that, I think, concludes the meeting. You want to gavel us out?
Adjourned?
Yay. Thank you.
Great job, everybody, on the interview process. Very
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take
See you
care.
all in August. Bye.
August.
All right.